got a great group of panelists here this morning. I'd like each of them to introduce themselves. And Gary, if we could start with you and just kind of work our ways down here and just give a little background with, from yourself, where you started in this business, and certainly, obviously, what your position is.
Okay. Gary Garofalo, CEO and chairman of Harkins. Actually started my career, I was CFO for 25 years before I became president and CEO. I went to Maryland, and I actually started off as a CPA and did that for a while. And Harkins' first day was my client. And after 9 years of billing in 12-minute increments and getting tired of it, there was a really good opening. Blaze Cook is huge history in ABC. We were kind of friends from working together and came over here, and it's been a great ride so far. So the other thing is we're an employee-owned company. We're 100% employee-owned. So that was kind of the last thing I did as CFO before I became president, because we were partial. So
Organize that.
The last piece of it. Yeah. We were 60% and then we went 100%.
Wow.
So.
Thank you. Brett?
I'm Brett McMahon. I'm the chairman and CEO of Miller & Long Company, Inc. We are starting our 75th year this year. Concrete contractors. Started off as a layout engineer out in the field. Actually, among the many things I did was pour Blaze's back porch for him.
Over a weekend.
And kind of worked up and down various tasks. Became in our first project manager of sorts. Went on to running our North Carolina division in the mid-90s, the early 2000s. Came back up here, did a lot of business development, spent a lot of time doing ABC stuff along the way, both locally and nationally. Became CEO in 2017. So estimating all that kind of stuff in and out. We have three owners. We split it up in sort of a very sophisticated organizational structure of do the work, get the work, and everything else. So my job is everything else. So that's kind of the history of me and our company.
Thank you. Thanks, Brett.
I have to tell you, when I heard that yesterday, that validated our structure, because we are the same way. Do the work, get the work, and everything else. And that's what I do, too. So Brett and I are the everything else people. I'm Lynn Stith-Bennett. I'm with Coakley & Williams Construction. My entry into construction was a little bit different. Certainly not intentional as a young girl growing up in the era that I did, and I'm not going to say the year. Construction wasn't really something you thought about, right? I remember my first job in construction, it was an accident. I went on a job interview with a contractor for something I thought was an office position, and it ended up being a field office. So I was in Friendship Heights doing a high rise there, and working in the field for the super and the PM. We were in a little house right next door. So that was my introduction to construction. After that, I went to a company called McCormick Construction, who was a division of the Spice Company. They were actually doing real estate development and construction back in the late 80s. And I don't think I've ever told you this story. I went to the job interview. It was for, I don't know if they called it field clerk or timekeeper, but it's kind of what we call field engineers now, right? And I was sitting in the trailer waiting for my turn to go in for the interview, and this guy comes out. I mean, he was this big, burly construction guy with his Miller & Long, stuff on. And I'm like, there's no way I'm getting this job. Like, I'm 20-something years old. I'm a young woman. I'm like, I'm not getting this job. But I did get that job. And that really was what set my path for construction. Was I worked with this amazing superintendent who took the time to teach me what was going on around me. He taught me how to read plans. He sent me out in the field. He made me, figure stuff out that I was way out of my comfort zone. But he really took the interest and pushed me, and that kind of, I got the bug. I think you hear that from people all the time about construction, is you get this bug, and it's seeing that built environment and the impact that you have. And so that kind of set me on my path. I ended up moving when the real estate market dropped out and McCormick got out of the business. I went to work for Coakley & Williams Construction. That was 35 years ago. And I was a project manager, so I came up through the operations side, PM, in interiors, base building, headed up our design build. And then at one point, I thought we had a seminar and we were talking about the millennial workforce and what does that look like? And it was like this leadership. And I went in on Monday and I said, I think I would be really good at that. We had an HR director that wasn't very effective. I mean, most of our employees called him creepy, which is not
Not what you're looking for.
not a good thing for an HR person. So one of my first jobs, the owner, Pat and Terry, said to me, well, you can take HR and start working on that as long as you keep doing your other job too. So I took on that. I was leading our design build group at that point. So managed to work him out. We went through a couple until we landed with Tracy, which has been an amazing impact on our organization. But from there, kind of started picking up all that other stuff, right? This other stuff within the organization, and now manage all the corporate services and kind of strategy of where we're going, how we're going to get there.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you, Lynn.
you're welcome.
And we have Christina Hum, and as a group that was planning this, we felt it was important to have people who are really at the top of their organizations and people who are new. So think about Lynn, you being, going back when you first started. So we have an example right here, and Christina volunteered to join us. So we appreciate that. So tell us a little bit about you.
So I'm Christina Hum. I started my professional career after college as a middle school science teacher. And when that just kind of went south, I wasn't really sure what to do, but I realized that I really enjoyed manual labor. And I talked to Kathy about that, and she put me in contact with Frank Murphy, and I realized that electrical was probably the best choice for me. So I've been with TEI since September of 2019. I attend ABC, and my experience in the field is a lot shorter than them, obviously. So I'm currently working at a job site in Silver Spring, and I'm doing the best I can to just really master the trade right now.
And thank you for being here.
Of course.
So let me start off with a question really for Gary, Brett, and Lynn. And that is just simply, when we talk about the workforce, what are things that keep you up at night? And maybe, Lynn, if we start with you and just kind of go on down. But if somebody else wants to take that, that's okay. But what keeps you up?
Well, I think probably we all are facing similar challenges in, the shortage of available talent that's out there, both from the trades as well as, the professional side or the project managers and those superintendents. That's a scary thing. The superintendent workforce is aging out. And we are looking at those metrics continuously. And that's a scary thing when you look at how many of them are within 5 years of retirement and where are the assistants. So we've really started a program around, we know we can't hire enough of them, that we got to grow them.
At the same time, but figuring out how to make sure we can pass along tons of information, like most people here, we have lots of long time employees, and most of our superintendents are at least 20, 25 years, and many of them longer than that. And making sure we can somehow figure out how to transition all that knowledge and information over to the next generation. And you do have to, take a flyer every once in a while and go, okay, give him a gig, let him run, and see how he does. But it does keep us up because there are big gaps between people my age and older and people in their 20s and 30s. There's not a lot in between. And so it absolutely keeps us up.
lot of same problems that Brett and Lynn have. The things that keep me up is things we can't control. We don't self-perform work, but the subs at this point, there's a shortage of people. There's no question. We have hiring needs. We're growing our business 50% this year and another 50% next year, and we're in the process of hiring. But the war used to be over winning jobs. I think we all have enough work right now. It's a people war right now. And so it's pretty topical what we're doing. So we certainly changed how we're doing it. Our best employees, there are no questions, the people we get right out of school and grow them. But when you're growing really, really fast, you can't grow them fast enough. There's a shortage out there, and there's an incredible need for the people. I think people, unfortunately, are leaving our industry, are not enough coming in, so we're looking at different places to find them. But it's the next couple of years. We're going to be dealing with shortage. The companies that do the best are the ones that are going to be able to deal with that the best, between our own issues with our people, which I think we'll be fine there. But there's no question the subs have capacity issues, and a lot of this work backed up. And now we're asking these guys that we're doing, a certain amount of work for us. The jobs that got postponed or delayed because of COVID, they're backing up, and we're already short those people, and then you got stuff that's supposed to start in 22. So, that's a big concern.
Thank you, Gary. I do want to let you all know that we'll have some Q&A. I want to get started with some of the opening questions and so forth, and we'll be able to have Q&A after we kind of go through that, but want to get your perspectives first. And one of the things that really comes to my mind as the three of you are talking, if you were able to get the workforce you need, what would that mean to your business in terms of growth percentage, for example?
More sleep for everybody, no question.
What's the difference between where you are now and if you could get everybody you needed, what would that look like?
Well, anytime you grow a business, you're taking risks because you have to hire people. And you just can't hire enough college kids that can make an impact. So if we did it would make the risk of what we're trying to do a lot more tolerable.
Cost of one job too many is almost incalculable. I mean, it is. There's, growth for the sake of growth is not really our philosophy per se. Growth that allows for us to retain both the reputation for quality craftsmanship and delivering what we say is more important than just volume to us. It kind of always has been. So we're always trying to measure that.
Lynn, how about from your perspective?
So if the question is, if we had all the available resources that we need, what does that feel like or look like? I think that one impacts the employee experience, right? Because we have to ask a lot of our people when we don't have the staff. It also affects the client experience, right? And coming out of the gate, doing jobs well, there has to be a real discipline around saying no to a job. And that's a hard thing to do, but sometimes the job you say no to is the best answer. And so being able to perform the work, we're in a growth mode as well. We've transitioned to new ownership and new leadership. And, we have a goal to double by 2030. So having enough people to do that looks like success. And it's a better experience for everybody. It's also the great business. The trades are a great place to be and to work. You can make money, not have a lot of college debt. There's a lot of real value in our business. And so having more people available in the business, I think, is a great experience for everybody.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. So Christina, I want to turn to you because on this panel, you are the newest into this profession. You were a biology teacher in middle school. Mm-hmm. On track, you thought maybe your future as you started that job would be to get a PhD and be in that field. Right. And now you switched. What made you switch, and what has it been like compared to your old job?
Okay, what made me switch? I guess, long story short, my administration was not good where I was teaching, so I left. And I could not find a job with a biology degree that paid more than an apprentice would make. And I had learned that I really enjoyed manual labor in between jobs, and I guess in between professions. I worked at a pool company, and I did a lot of tech work there, which was a lot of digging with shovels, and I got into plumbing, and I really enjoyed plumbing. And the differences between teaching and what I'm doing now, I would say, well, I was expecting it to be a little more inviting, I guess, I suppose. Considering what year I started in 2019 in the trades, I remember saying to myself, it's 2019. I thought it would be a little bit more supportive of
Lynn has a knowing smile.
people like me. And I was kind of shocked by it. Right when I went to my first job, there was a lot of confusion as to why I was even there. Because people knew my background, because they would ask me, how did you get this job? Why are you here? And then when they found out that I had a biology degree, they were like, but you have a degree, so why are you here? And then
What did you tell them?
well, I told them that getting the biology degree was not as lucrative as I thought it would be. And after looking for a job for 8 months and being disappointed because it kind of meant nothing at that point, then when I was told about the trades, which is interesting because obviously I should know about the trades, things are built all the time, but I was unaware of how good of a career choice it might be, that I decided to, pick a profession where there was growth that didn't require me to pay for the growth. It's when I sat down with Frank to talk about what I wanted to do, he told me, you can go into estimating. You can even own your own business. The ceiling is not there. But in academia, the ceiling is right above your head all the time. You can't move past it unless you go and pay, $25,000, which I'm not going to do anymore.
And for that, you mean get a master's degree or something else?
Yeah, which would be more than $25,000.
Okay. Okay.
So that's one huge benefit to this trade, is that I don't have to go enroll in a class and sit there and be talked at and take notes, and go get a piece of paper that says I went and did that for however many hours in order to get paid more. I get to go to work and do my job well and be recognized for that. And if I want to move somewhere else, I ask, and then, they allow me to do that, to work on what I want to work on. And it's easier to reach my goals.
I just want to touch on one thing that she said, and I think it's a big takeaway, is that she didn't know in school that construction was an option, right? We as an industry have to do a better job of getting into the high schools and getting these kids excited about the opportunities in construction. I mean, it's the only way we're going to start to get more people into the business, is really to do that. Guidance counselors are still evaluated on how many of their kids go to college. That's part of the evaluation in the school system. And so they push kids to college even when they aren't really looking at these choices. And I think that, maybe if she'd have had a choice and knew that that was even out there, there may have been a different path for her. So it just highlights that for me.
Yeah, it's a good example. Thank you for adding that. So I'm curious, in 2 years, you said when you thought it would be more inviting when you first walked in, right?
Yes.
Have you seen any change?
No.
Okay. So we have a ways to go.
Well, I mean, when you go to work every day and you do the job, and I don't want to say mind your business, but you tolerate if you have to tolerate. People start to respect that a lot. if someone says something that I don't like, then I tell them that they need to stop doing that. If you can stand your ground and just do your job and just be another person on the workforce, it's really hard for people to have any disrespect for you, even if they don't always treat you with it. They deep down they do say, okay, you know what? There's nothing I can do. This person's not going away. And even if I say something that I think might be funny or rude, they're still not going away and they're not crying about it. So it is what it is. So once you start to get some respect, it gets a little bit easier, but each job site is a new place with a lot of people who don't know me, and they see something different than what I'm hoping that they'll see. And that's just, they see a woman walking around and they don't really know what to do about it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so they're still learning.
that's unfortunate that hasn't changed, but that was in my experience exactly. I mean, you have to put your head down and you have to work hard and you have to be really good at what you do to get that respect. But then you go to the next job and the superintendent's like, who is this girl that's going to be my project manager, right? And so, I mean, I remember having one super that wouldn't talk to me because I was, she's just this young, but you do a really good job and you earn the respect and then you just keep building on that.
Yeah, you
just do your thing, right?
Yeah.
Work hard, do your thing. Yeah.
So let me throw a general question out to the three of you. What have you seen are the biggest changes in the workforce, let's say just in the last 3 to 5 years? In the way the workforce is or who shows up in the workforce, what are the biggest changes you've seen in the last 3 to 5 years? Or have you seen changes?
In 3 to 5 years, I don't know that it's been that big a change in that period of time, but 10, 15 years ago, perhaps, there was a fairly significant change. And I think it had a lot to do with sort of expectations and speed and advancement and things like that. Had a lot of 25-year-olds who thought, why am I not a vice president and where's my car? Which again, it seemed to be kind of for a period of time. I think actually the younger folks we brought in now maybe have perhaps more realistic expectations I think we've seen that, whether it's been a great vetting process by our HR staff, whatnot, but it is, I do remember that period of time. And also perhaps having now 10, 15 years ago, there was a real long time since the last major economic mess, right? But now this group that we have, the newer folks, have been through 2008 and more recently. And so perhaps the expectations are a little more realistic about where things are going.
Gary, you and I were talking prior to us getting up here about how important you think it is to really develop people and give them those opportunities. I know probably many of us have read that young people today, not even young people, have come more to expect that. What's been your experience?
Just a quick answer on the first one. I think the kids coming out of school are super prepared to make an impact on your company almost immediately. I mean, there's certainly a learning curve. So if anything, in the last 3 to 5 years, they continue to impress with what they're doing. Probably the biggest thing is, when we started work, it was a job, and the why was because we needed a job and we need to pay for stuff. You're not going to hire people. They want to know a why. They want to know, what are you doing? How are we going to make a difference? What are the different things I can get involved with? I've got people that have great careers in our business that want a piece of other stuff that we're doing. They want to get in employee development, which you do. If that's what you want, you do. I mean, if you'd rather have that person working on 2 or 3 jobs, but if you got to give one of those up, and he's going to be a happy employee, he's going to stay, and he's going to make an impact somewhere else. You can't measure it over here. It's hard to measure employee development. When it doesn't work, but it's really hard to understand what they added to it. But I think when they take on the job, it's not to get paid. I mean, everybody wants to get paid. They're going to get paid. But they not only want to know what we're doing as a company, how can I what can I do? What's my path? And if you're not talking to your best people about their future, then you might not be talking to them for a while, because they want to know. They want somebody in their corner that's going to say, these are the things that you need to do. We're going to develop you as quick as you can. Yeah, we don't have that ceiling. And I see how frustrating that would be. Our ceiling is as quick as you can, your talents and your ambition will take you, and your hard work.
So we have to get rid of that mindset of seniority, longevity, those kinds of things that.
Paying your dues.
Yeah,
Got to
paying
pay
your
the dues
dues.
before you can get there,
No,
right?
that's
Yeah.
not
That's
happening.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That has
Yeah.
pretty much had to go out the window. So Christina, let's turn to you. So we've talked about some of the ways that we've had to, the ceiling has to be. What are your friends saying? I mean, you've got friends in the construction industry, outside of the construction industry. They know you made the leap. What are the common themes you hear among people your age in the workforce, and what they're looking for, and why that might be attractive? They could be attractive to the construction industry.
Well, a lot of them are saying they're overworked. Most of my friends, they worked really, really hard to get a degree, and they're overworked and underpaid and not appreciated. They're expected to go do like continuing education courses and things of that nature that they have to pay for. Sometimes they don't have to pay for them, but for the most part, there's a lot of frustration. And my friends at work, they don't really have the same complaints. I think the only complaint, especially since most of the people I'm really close with are apprentices, would be low pay. When I talk to any of my friends about ideas for what to do for work, it's hard for me to not say to them, like, you could go into the trades. But most of them don't want to do that.
Why is that?
I would say that the work that we do with our hands, manual labor, it's hard. People don't really want to do that. It's also, if I'm talking to women, they really don't have any interest in dealing with the things that I've told them about that I deal with. And the other thing is, I don't think anyone says this to me, because when I tell people I am an electrician, I'm a construction worker, the response is very positive. Wow, that's really cool. Good for you. That's hard. But I think society doesn't have as much respect for construction workers. So for a woman to go into construction, she's battling more than just the economy. She's kind of like a badass. And so I don't know if I could say that, but like that's kind of like how people look at it, right? But if a man wants to go into construction, they're like, well, he doesn't really have, as many goals. I was talking to someone at work yesterday, and he said, I hate going to the grocery store after work because of the looks you get from people. And I was like, I know exactly what you mean. It feels, I don't like going anywhere after work in my work clothes, because it just feels like someone looking at me, God, what happened to her? Nothing really.
Poor thing.
And you want to say to them, check back in 5 years and we'll tell you.
Yeah. When I was working for the pool company, one of my friends there said on one of the jobs he was on, there was a woman walking by with her kids, and she said, you got to make sure you go to college so you don't get stuck doing that. And he was like, I have a degree. And she was like, okay. And there's a lot of people I know in the trades that have degrees that couldn't use them.
Or want to do something else.
Yeah, or they want to do something else. Yeah, that's true.
It is a problem with the industry, though, this perception of construction workers, right? And we've got to start to break that mold, that perception.
I know. I mean, how many biologists are using, AI-empowered robots to walk around and inspect their jobs? I don't think so. How many of them are, employ a couple of PhDs in the either chemistry or material sciences departments to develop new materials and methodologies? I don't think so. It is this rather inane, idiotic sort of Flintstone version of construction workers that is really quite foolish. And somehow we struggle to be the second largest industry in the United States. But God help you, go get an English major. Enjoy yourself.
What you going to do with that?
Well, it is true, though. I mean, we employ now several young people who quit after their first or second year of college. And honestly, we don't care. I mean, why do I care? Unless you're pursuing a professional certification as either like a PE or something like that, where these things are necessary prerequisites. I really don't care. I may be interested in what you studied in college if it fits in, but where it was in particular, or the fact that you have one or not, really doesn't matter, except for a few specialized things. I need CPAs, right? I need engineering, right? After that, I need brains and hard work.
So I'm going to ask another question here, but we're going to also invite questions from you as well. So you're one of a few women that you experience on the workforce. What has been the rest of your experience? Can we make this field attractive to women? And it's a little bit of a loaded question, I think, because we see across the country, not just locally, efforts to involve more women in this field. But on the heels of what Christina has said, what do you see working? What has worked for you? And what have you found maybe doesn't work?
Well, a couple things. I mean, yeah, that's been a constant. It's been an effort for a very long time. We've had some success in those things. I actually had our first female superintendent in 1997, I think, actually, running jobs down in North Carolina. She was that tall, but she was very good at it. We've had women in our as crane operators for 30 years plus, and there were, but it is difficult, and it's difficult in sort of the gang labor crews. There's interesting dynamics in there, and to be honest, I'm certain that there is a extra burden for women. There is always a burden for that new person as well, but I'm not discounting at all the fact that it's a woman-based thing. That we've seen that, we try and address it as much as we can, but it is also hard. There's sort of a, not quite, it's not hazing so much as like, you got to be able to carry your weight and then everybody's fine, right? And it's kind of a dynamic of that, but it's going to be harder for women.
I would say we have some of the similar things. We have different workers, obviously his field workers are all of ours, our management. I think we've done a really good job of hiring women at a school, and interns, getting them work, a lot of them in estimating, a lot of them go out as PEs in the field. I think we've done that really good. I don't know that there are a lot of people that come to us, because we need those persons, we need the lifers, the construction employees that did it. I don't know that there have been a lot of women that come to us doing that. And I don't know if what we're starting right now is going to fill that need 15, 20 years from now, probably. Maybe it wasn't happening 15 or 20 years ago, so that's why they're not here. But I think at the college level, I don't know what the percents are, Kathy, but if it's not close to 50, or it's not 50%, it's probably pretty close. And great workers have futures. We've got zero tolerance when they go out to the field. Somebody does something, person's off the job, and then something else happens, the sub's off the job. We got zero tolerance for that, and you are a badass. I mean, and we would hire you in a second, but yeah, you have to, as a company, you have to set the tone that it's not going to be tolerated, and that just reinforces so many stereotypes.
Gary, do you have to start that tone at your position as CEO?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it hasn't been a long time since hiring a lot of women at school, but yeah, I always kind of look out for them, talk to them about it. Yeah, you just can't have it. If you're seen as the person that, all right, it's the good old boys now, we can't run farther away from that image. It's terrible to our industry, and it's just from a moral standpoint, it's just horrible. If that were my daughter, would I allow that? No.
Well, it's also, there's a lot of family in construction. I mean, lots and lots of people go into construction.
Yeah, it is exciting to see the number of women that are coming into the industry. It's very different than it used to be. I think we have a really good mix in all areas of our organization. The one thing that we don't have is any women superintendents. And I said before I retire, we're going to get one. Tracy and I were talking about this yesterday. Clark does a really good job with that. And like, what is it that they're doing? Because they've got some really strong women superintendents. And, you know, how are we going to get that? And I don't know what the trick is, but maybe it's better bathrooms. I don't know. Yeah. I remember I thought I made it when I went on a job site and my superintendent had put a lock on the spot apartment with my own key. So I was like, okay.
You're there.
We did that, yes, we
It's
conceded.
gotten
We did
much
that a
better.
while
That,
ago.
I mean,
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
bit. I don't know. It's really
It's hit or miss. It depends on where you
Yeah.
go. Yeah.